Good evening, I'm Ces Oreña-Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Shawn Yao.
The big stories tonight. The National Bureau of Investigation deals with two recent developments: the arrest of a Chinese national near Comelec over alleged spying, and summons for Vice President Sara Duterte. We flesh these issues out with NBI Director Jimmy Santiago, who joins us in a bit.
An anti-crime watchdog denounces a lead that has emerged from the kidnapping murder of Chinese businessman Anson Que. It pointed to the victim's very own son as mastermind.
And Malacanang steps in and calls for a probe into the Villar-owned Prime Water amid mounting complaints from customers of poor service.
Kung ang impormasyon na gusto nila makuha ay sa cellphone, sa text, o yung mga tawag, anong purpose?
There's growing concern over the arrest of a supposed Chinese spy near the Comelec headquarters. More than possible interference in the upcoming elections, Malacanang and lawmakers believe this is now a national security issue. Camille Samonte has tonight's big story.
An NBI operation last Sunday supposedly caught Chinese national Tak Hoi Lao red-handed. He was arrested near the Comelec headquarters in Intramuros, Manila, and in his car were hot items. There was an international mobile subscriber identity or IMSI catcher that can gather sensitive data and information like text messages, mobile numbers, and calls from mobile phones near it. There were also cell phones, SIM cards, and other gadgets. On Wednesday, Tak underwent inquest before the Department of Justice. He is being charged for violation of the Espionage Act of 1941, as well as misuse of devices and illegal interception and system interference under the Cybercrime Prevention Act of 2012. Tak has since denied all these allegations. But for Senate Majority Leader Francis Tolentino, Tak's presence near the Comelec office validates the findings of last week's Senate inquiry, which exposed efforts by China to meddle in the May elections.
Ang gusto nila manalo yung pro-China candidates. Ang gusto nila ma-repeal yung maritime zones law. Ang gusto nila bumaba yung depensa natin at makuha nila ang Pilipinas at maging probinsya tayo ng China.
For Senator Risa Hontiveros, the arrest of the alleged Chinese spy is deeply concerning, not just for the upcoming elections, but also for our national security. Hontiveros went on to say that if Tak is indeed involved in espionage, this will have serious implications on the already fragile relationship between Manila and Beijing. The palace, for its part, said it will defer to the Defense Department to summon Chinese Ambassador Wang Zelian on this matter.
That is an issue of national security, so we will just leave it at that. We will leave it at that, and we will just have an investigation, thorough investigation on that matter.
The NBI believes the suspect could have been intercepting data to and from Comelec before he was arrested, but the whole body assured there is no election data in its headquarters.
Kung ang impormasyon na gusto nila makuha ay sa cellphone, sa text, o yung mga tawag, anong purpose? Para po magamit laban sa bawat isa? Para po gamitin para sa mind conditioning, yan po yung gusto namin pong alamin. And therefore, maghihintay po kami ng report ng NBI sa kung pagkatapos nila magkaroon ng lab test o ng examination nung nakuha ng mga equipment.
Just to be sure, Comelec conducted a test and found that its system was not compromised. As for the arrested Chinese national, he remains in custody of the NBI. For News 5, Camille Samonte, We Are One News.
Meantime, the Office of the Prosecutor has issued a summons to Vice President Sara Duterte in connection with a sedition case filed against her by the NBI. This was confirmed by the VP herself. A summons is a court document informing the defendant of a lawsuit against her with instructions to respond. In February this year, the NBI filed charges of grave threat and inciting to sedition against Duterte before the Department of Justice. Now that's for saying back in November 2024 that she had contracted someone to kill President Bongbong Marcos, his wife Liza, and his cousin, Speaker Martin Romualdez, if she were murdered first. Prosecutor General Richard Fadulion says the preliminary investigation on the charges against Duterte has been scheduled on May 9 and 16. Just yesterday, the Vice President also claimed receiving information that she faces an arrest warrant from the International Criminal Court. When asked for comment today, The palace had this to say.
Kuha ng Vice Presidente ang kanilang mga impormasyon, mas mabuti po sana kung sa kanila kukunin. Dahil sa panahon po ngayon, wala po kami masasabi patungkol po dyan.
Oh, all right. The NBI is going to be quite busy.
It has been busy. I heard an earlier interview of Director Jimmy over at our sister program StoryCon, and he was saying na inassume ko nga na yan na yon kasi they filed it in the DOJ nung January pa.
Wonder why it took so long. Again, the timing, ano?
Ang sagot niya doon, we can ask him later, but earlier what he said was something along the lines of, kasi sinuri ng mabuti.
I will also watch the same interview. Parang masusi nilang inimbestigahan or weighed, I guess. The DOJ, no? The
Right,
DOJ.
yes. And also because the quantum of evidence now is higher na. Diba? They changed the system para hindi maklog yung mga courts natin into, hindi na pwede yung probable cause lang. Dapat may evidence ganyan.
But about that Chinese spy, I mean the MC catcher that they're talking about, that device, I wonder how sophisticated it is kasi it's used as an eavesdropping device, right? So what kind of information can you get at the COMELEC? Because you have Chairman George Garcia saying wala naman daw silang nakita, just checking their systems. There were no any compromised data as far as COMELEC is concerned. So ano yung motive?
I guess parang siyang parang chismosa kayo ganon, di ba? Parang more of yung cellphone calls, messages that are made through cell phones or mobile devices.
Pero you know, in this day and age when you can hack into a system or have drones do the job, parang sitting duck naman itong espiya na to.
And not just this.
Nyo ako, medyo, di ba?
At saka hindi lang
With
siya.
all that equipment na parang
Yung buong kotse, no?
Parang
Punong-puno.
medyo sinauna na.
You think parang not sophisticated enough to think if it's
Not
really
that I
China.
know anything about spying, but you know, it seems in this day and age of AI, we'll ask
Director
of
Jimmy,
course.
but also weird because ang dami na rin ganyan and it's always that IMSI catcher na nahuhuli nila. Yung iba naman nasa Palawan, doon naman sa malapit sa Krame. So, I don't know kung connected ba ito or if they've managed to stitch the events together.
Yeah.
Okay, but at this point, we're just going to take a quick break. Coming up next, Cebu Governor Gwen Garcia is not honoring the Ombudsman's order to suspend her from office, at least until she has explored all of her legal options. The details of that when the big story returns. Stay tuned.
Thank you for staying with us here on The Big Story. Malacanang has called for an in-depth investigation into the service issues of Prime Water Infrastructure Corporation. The company is owned by the Villar family. On social media, customers have been complaining about the private water utility firm's high charges and irregular supply. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro says poor service has no place in the Marcos government. She even challenged Congresswoman Camille Villar to address the issue and prove her capability as a leader. Camille is running for senator under the administration's Alianza ticket but was also endorsed by Vice President Sara Duterte.
Ang kakulangan sa serbisyo ay walang puwang sa administrasyon ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. Ang pangangailangan po ng tao sa malinis na tubig, sapat na supply ng tubig, ay dapat lang po nararapat at hindi pa negosyo lamang. He should prove that you could perform as a leader. With this issue regarding Prime Waters, if there's a need for them to resolve the issues raised by the consumers, I think we should immediately make an immediate action on that.
In other news, Cebu Governor Gwendolyn Garcia has refused to step down despite a 6-month suspension order from the Ombudsman. Garcia says she will continue performing her duties while her legal team seeks clarification on the suspension.
I will continue to serve the Cebuanos in the best possible way. I am not stepping down.
Earlier, the Office of the Ombudsman issued a preventive suspension against Garcia for granting a special quarry permit to Shalom Construction Incorporated without the required environmental compliance certificate and other documents. Garcia denies the accusation, presenting a copy of the ECC from the DENR and insisting the project was legal. Her camp argued the initiative was approved by the provincial board, which declared Cebu in a state of calamity due to a water shortage. The permit was supposed to be part of efforts to address the crisis. Garcia's legal team has since disputed the suspension, citing election laws requiring COMELEC clearance, and argued Garcia was not informed of the complaint prior to the suspension. With this, they plan to file a motion challenging the Ombudsman's decision. For its part, the COMELEC said the suspension will not affect Garcia's candidacy. But the Ombudsman maintains that suspensions under the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act under Republic Act 3019 are exempt from COMELEC clearance. Still, Garcia is being charged under Republic Act 6713, the Code of Conduct for Public Officials, and faces administrative charges which do require the COMELEC's approval.
Meanwhile, over at the Vatican, the College of Cardinals have agreed to override a provision of their apostolic constitution, which mandates a limit on the number of electors in the conclave happening next week. Jovi Francisco is still reporting to us live from the Vatican. Hi, Jovi. What do you have for us?
Hello, Shawn. They just concluded the 7th edition of the congregation of the College of Cardinals, and they officially announced the number, or the official number, of eligible cardinals that will be voting during the conclave next week is 133. Kung tutusin, parang kinakailangan pala talaga nilang ideklara yan because there's this article sa Vatican Constitution that states na 120 lang talaga dapat yung pwedeng bumoto sa conclave ng mga kardinal. But this article was superseded or na-overtake na yan nung decision ni Pope Francis before na magtalaga ng additional na mga cardinals na kung eligible naman sila doon sa mga Asia Carmet, can vote doon sa conclave. So we have 133, tatlo doon, dalawa na dapat ay kasali ay hindi dahil hindi na makakarating dito dahil sila may karamdaman, at isa naman ay tungkol doon sa yung umurong na because of that embezzlement issue. So aside from that, I think kinamusta rin namin yung paghahanda ng tatlong cardinals from the Philippines. So I went to PFC, or the Pontificio Colegio Filipino, and tinignan ko kung paano yung preparation doon. And I think that report is ready for rollback. Playback.
During their 6th congregation, the College of Cardinals addressed issues facing the Catholic Church. They listened to several perspectives from continents and regions. The Cardinals believe this will guide their decision in next week's conclave, and that it may serve as the roadmap of the Catholic Church's direction in the coming years.
At ito din advantage ngayon, malalaman ng Cardinals yung situation sa buong mundo, and they will get to know each other during these days before the conclave, and they will also try to see what the Church needs, what characteristics of a Pope we need today.
This will be the daily routine for the Cardinals in the days leading to the conclave. Aside from attending masses and meetings, they will also embark on activities that will aid their selection of a new Pope. 135 cardinals are eligible to vote. 2 cardinals will not make it to Rome for the conclave because of health issues. Cardinal Angelo Becciu will also not join the vote because of legal issues. The next Pope will need 2/3 of all the votes to get the papacy. The Pontificio Colegio Filipino in Rome serves as the conclave preparation place for 3 cardinals from the Philippines. Cardinals Luis Antonio Tagle, Jose Advincula, and Pablo Virgilio David currently reside here. The place reminds visitors of retreat places in Tagaytay or Baguio, a quiet place perfect for reflection. There are several prayer rooms, and there's even a library. Just about sufficient for cardinals swamped with materials needed to be read and imbibed. The priests of the PCF also serve as support group of our cardinals.
Kami dito, we host them dito. Dito sa PCF, sanay na sanay naman tayo kasi marami ding bishops na nag-aral noong 1970s, 1980s, 1990s dito. And then dumadalo naman sila lagi dito. So medyo may mechanism na tayo dito sa PCF to receive these guests. So ngayon, sa conclave, in a special way, of course, konting dasal pa, and then pangangailangan nila kasi biglang pupunta sa meeting sa Vatican, kung ano pang mga needs nila, then we also cater to them.
Father Greg understands the excitement of Filipinos about the participation of our 3 cardinals in next week's conclave, but he believes there's only one way to support the cardinals.
Naging excited tayo, baka siya manalo, baka although kung tutuusin talaga sa dasal ng mga cardinals, they ask for the guidance of the Holy Spirit. So tayo naman, ang the best na magawa natin is makidasal. Dasal din tayo sa Holy Spirit to grant the cardinals this enlightenment.
Shawn, before the 7th congregation ended today, the cardinals sent out this PR or a press statement, and that reads this request from the cardinals to the people of God for them to pray for the cardinals before they enter the conclave next week.
And Jovi, by any chance, may nasalisi ka na bang cardinal? I've seen a few on YouTube na pumayag magpa-interview here and there. Pero have they been elusive?
Well, yung ibang mga cardinals, yung not from the Philippines, yes, nagpapaulak sila. And of course, nakita natin sa report ng Reuters. So, usually sinasabi lang nila yung kanilang vow of silence or secrecy, and hindi general yung kanilang mga sinasabi. Pero pagdating doon sa ating mga cardinals, nandun sila sa PFC, pero talaga nag-request sila na no interviews, parang pwede sila makita, pero nothing na pwede silang magsalita about the conclave next week.
Okay. And as we wait for May 7, Jovi, ganun pa rin ba yung schedule of activities? Usually congregation sa morning, and then kung ano-ano na sa hapon, they separate and they go to their respective offices or organizations?
Yes, pero pagdating ng mga around 5 p.m. dito sa Roma, Shawn, meron pa rin noong 9 days of morning for Pope Francis. So meron pa rin mass dito sa loob ng Basilica. So most of the cardinals attend that Eucharistic celebration.
Okay, have you had a chance to attend one of them?
About 2 days ago, after ng report ko, pumasok ko doon to just get some videos. So usually talaga yung mga cardinals doon sa hadapan, and nagpa-participate doon sa mass na yun. So.
All right, well, what a great opportunity, even though we are still mourning. Thank you so much for that update, Jovi Francisco, reporting to us live from the Vatican. Maraming salamat.
And in light of the recent tragic car ramming attack at the Lapu-Lapu Day Festival in Vancouver, which claimed the lives of at least 11 people, we speak with Toronto-based journalist Isabel Docto about the latest updates. Good evening from Manila, and welcome to the Big Story.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Well, it was really your piece, which came a day after the incident, the tragic incident that led us to interview you. How do you assess so far the Filipino community coping with this tragedy?
Yeah, so across Canada, the Filipino-Canadian community is experiencing immense grief and pain. I attended a vigil in Toronto last night where hundreds of people from the community showed up. There are people like me who live away from their families in Vancouver, felt a sense of dread when trying to contact their loved ones to see if they were alive or okay. One Filipino business owner shared his story about witnessing the attack. He had a booth at the festival and described through tears, seeing the truck or the car ram into the bodies, and accelerating and then running over more. Mm-hmm. He said paramedics even used his table as a stretcher for one of the victims. And, a lot of people are feeling survivor's guilt. He said that he was speaking with a customer earlier that day that later he found out had been killed. And he said he wished he had taken her aside and just chatted with her all day to keep her away from what was about to happen.
Well, in this tragedy, perhaps the Filipino community can emerge stronger, perhaps, or in helping each other and comforting each other. What do you think? Will that take some time?
Yeah, so I think right now, there's no clear answer to that question because the incident is so fresh.
Fresh, yeah.
People are still in shock, including myself. My family is still in Vancouver. I grew up in Vancouver. My friends are there. So I was also frantically, checking in on everyone that night. Yeah, we're just trying to wrap our heads around it, still questioning why it happened and why it happened to our community during a day that was supposed to be a celebration. Um, I think, Filipinos were known for our resilience, but and the ability to face like hard times with a smile. But I think right now, it's okay if that resilience takes a backseat to grief. We're known around the world as caregivers. We're always taking care of other people. I think right now, Filipino Canadian community is just trying to, take care of themselves. Um, yeah, so we're all just we're grieving here.
Well, Isabel, at this point, is there more information already on the suspect, a 30-year-old man named Kaiji Adam Lo? Is there a clearer picture on his motive, why he did this? Because police did mention he has a history of mental health issues, but it wasn't clear, why he exactly did what he did.
Yeah, so I know as much as you right now. We know that, it's been reported that the suspect has had dozens of run-ins with the police related to his mental health prior to the attack. So, community members are very frustrated with authorities in terms of how they've handled it because they feel that it could have been prevented.
Isabel, there's some frustration that we feel from the Filipino community there about how, well, lenient the authorities have been treating, for instance, the suspect has had many run-ins with the law but was not detained or was let go. What are you hearing from the community there in Canada?
Yeah, like you said, people are frustrated with the system and that the system kind of allowed this to, slip through the cracks. People yesterday at the vigil were calling on governments to, we're holding them accountable and talking about the system that failed to address this suspect's mental health issues and that frankly, it sucks that it was taken out on our community. So yes, the community is quite angry as they're with the sadness as well.
Are there groups that maybe be pushing for more action from the government or perhaps amendments in the law? Or is it too early at this stage? Because, well, what struck us about your piece was that you give time for the community to grieve and let them air out their sentiments first before, I guess, acting on changes in that they want to happen in government.
Yeah, I would say there's a little bit of both happening. Yeah, again, yesterday at the vigil, different community groups like Migrante BC or Migrante Toronto and other kind of grassroots organizations where the mayor of Toronto was there and they were, calling on them to do something about it, especially as the summer comes and more festivals, Filipino festivals here in Toronto even are happening. They're calling on stricter safety measures, more help from the police. Yeah, so there, in terms of when it comes to laws, I'm sure there are a lot of things being done in the background, but for now, they've A lot of the community groups have said their piece, and I've continued to grieve.
Well, we thank you very much for your time. Toronto-based journalist Isabel Docto.
Thank you for having me.
Time to pause for another quick break, but when we return, airport personnel can no longer touch passports of travelers. We tell you why when the big story returns. Keep it here.
The big story is back with a plot twist in the kidnapping slay of Anson Que and his driver. A suspect has tagged the steel tycoon's son in the crime. But the PNP is taking this new information with much caution. Marian Enriquez reports.
It has been 3 weeks since Chinese businessman Anson Que and his driver were found lifeless inside a nylon bag in Rodriguez, Rizal. They were tied up and their faces wrapped in duct tape. David Tan Liao was one of the 3 suspects arrested for the crime. And according to police, Liao is implicating the victim's very own son, Alvin Que, in the kidnap murder case. At this point, the younger Que is a respondent on the case. The Department of Justice has confirmed that a mastermind has been identified, but refuses to point the finger at the businessman's child. DOJ Secretary Boying Remulla says the result of the investigation could be unexpected.
Looking at the other theories of the case, just to be fair to all the parties. Nakuha na natin ang yung direct participants, pero inaayos lang yung mastermind tsaka motive. Give us around 20-25 days. It will be done. It might pull off a surprise. Baka kagulat-gulat ang lumabas.
The Movement for Restoration of Peace and Order was quick to condemn this finding. Founding Chair Teresita Ang Si asks police, why is the word of a notorious criminal the sole source of your evidence? Why did Alvin Que become a person of interest only on the word of Liao, known kidnapper and of more than a dozen kidnap victims? The PNP was quick to respond to this critic.
Hindi natin pinaniniwalaan lahat po ng state David Tan Liao. Maliban doon sa kanyang assertion, alleged siya meeting with the son and even the physical and even the calls, wala po siyang maipresent. We cannot discount the possibility that the David Tan Liao is misleading the investigation to cover up for someone.
Still, Alvin Que is not off the hook yet. He is fully cooperating with the probe and has even surrendered his phone for forensic examination. Meantime, Liao and his co-suspects Ricardo Austria and Raymart Catequista have gone through inquest proceedings. 2 other suspects are still at large, Jonin Lin and Wen Li Gong, who also goes by the alias Kelly Tan Lim. Kelly was said to have lured the victim Anson Que to the suspects and has also figured in at least 8 kidnapping cases based on PNP records. Authorities are offering a 5 million peso bounty for her arrest. It also turned out that Liao's group has converted 200 million pesos in ransom money to cryptocurrency. Authorities are now looking into the accountability of casinos whose junket operations are being used by those involved in illegal drugs, human trafficking, and kidnapping.
Hindi bababa sa 50 katao ang pinagpasahan po nito using po yung junket operators po ng casino. At lahat po ng pinagdaanan po ng pera yan ay inimplead po natin sa kasong isinampa po natin at lahat po ng individual po na yon ay dadaan po sa preliminary investigation.
For News 5, I'm Marian Enriquez. We are One News.
So yun nga, no, medyo nagkagulo kasi nagalit yung group ni Tessie Ang Si na parang bakit daw nire-reveal ng media pati ng mga police yung certain details. And itong detail na ito, kasi under investigation pa yung kaso and this specific statement tagging the son of Anson Que to the mastermind or as the mastermind is actually just the allegation of David Tan Liao.
It's still a lead in the case.
Right. But is it a good idea to broadcast it?
No.
Napaisip nga ako, di ba?
Siyempre hindi. Pero kung ikaw naman yung media, ang dami nyo sa press conference. Tapos ang hirap naman kung ikaw lang
yung hindi
magsabi, diba?
Pero I guess sobrang nagbago na kasi the last time nung nauso yung mga kidnapping, it was the 90s and we didn't have social media and we didn't have cell phones. And I guess that's what the group of Tessie Angsi is saying, di ba? Parang wag naman natin mag-share.
But it's the police. The responsibility belongs to the police authorities, not to reveal until you're very sure, you're 100% sure.
That's true.
Diba?
Kasi saan ba natin makukuha yung information?
Di ba? Unless sinabi nila na sources lang. Oh, well, right now, where we want to get back to our top story tonight, the arrest of another alleged spy. And we're going to speak to NBI spokesman Ferdinand Lavin, since NBI Director Jimmy Santiago is indisposed at the moment. Magandang gabi po sa inyo, Mr. Lavin. Tell us,
magandang gabi po, ma'am.
Paano nyo ba natuntun itong si Takhoy Lao? Matagal na po bang minamanmanan ng NBI itong alleged spy na ito?
Simula noong April 24 of this year, we got an information, we received an information that itong cooperating witness namin, I personally observed the loading onto a vehicle of what appeared to be itong machine, no? And sabi niya, kaya nagpapasalamat kami sa media at public information agencies. Ang sabi niya sa amin, sir, yung dating mga nahuli ng NBI ay mukhang may nakita ako na gano'n nila lagay sa sakyan. And he called the NBI and received the information. We immediately informed the director, Judge Jaime Santiago, and sabi niya, tutukan niyan, huwag niyong papabayaan, gawing maayos yung trabaho at kahit na gabi, Sabado Linggo, ay sundan niyo. So we did a cartailing operations and we used our own equipment to try to make sure na merong signal na nagkagaling doon sa vehicle. Kaya nagpapasalamat kami because of the public awareness doon sa mga dating operations namin na na-broadcast ito, napanood sa TV, ay nagkaroon ng idea yung ating mga mamamayan. Ito yung nag-joke at sinubaybayan ng NBI, pati yung pagpalit-palit ng tawag dito, yung tirahan. Kasi nagpalit ito ng tao, nagpalit ng tirahan. It was really a challenge doing the cartailing operation, especially in Metro Manila, in the NCR.
Attorney Lavin, pag-alaman nyo na ba, kailan siya pumasok sa bansa? Kailan pa nandito sa Pilipinas? Itong si Takhoy Lao.
Around that time lang, April 24. Itong particular na tao, dumating ito April 24.
Galing pong saang parte? Which part of China po?
Sa Macau ang kanyang place of residence, Macau.
Sir, how cooperative is this Takhoy Lao sa inyong initial questioning? Nabasa po namin na hindi po siya nag-i-English masyado. So, wala po bang available translator na pwedeng makuha para talagang malaman kung yung kanyang identity?
At the time of the arrest, we provided a translator para makuha namin yung detalye niya, yung kanyang personal details. At napag-alaman namin na very limited, limited yes or no yung kanyang English facility. Ngunit during the entire operation, meron silang ginagamit na translator and he would show this to the driver of the vehicle, pati yung ruta nila, pati yung conversations. May translator silang app. That's how we traced also, because the driver, we engaged the driver was telling us that whenever he would board the vehicle, walang signal yung kanyang mobile gadget. So, malamang kinakain ito nung IMSI catcher. And the only time we could communicate with the driver, nung nagkakaroon lang siya ng break time for meal or would go to a restroom or would smoke kasi smoker itong driver.
Attorney Lavin, pa-confirm lang po kung na-figure out nyo na kung first time lang ba niya pumunta sa Pilipinas or kumbaga nakapunta na siya dito at bumalik lang?
From our questioning, he would not answer. That's why we communicated with the Immigration Bureau at hiningi namin yung travel history but hindi pa sila nag-reply.
Huh?
But yung passport niya mukhang ito lang yung tatak.
Okay.
Attorney, gusto ko lang matanong sa inyo, no, na parang sa panahon ngayon na AI na po, artificial intelligence, madaling mag-hack naman ng may mga hackers dyan or may mga drones na para pong medyo sinauna na to ba, would you say, itong ginagawa nitong alleged spy na ito?
Yung tungkol dun sa equipment nila, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Hindi ho ba parang very...
Yeah. Yung equipment nila, this is capable na si IMSI ito capture. Ito yung naghuhuli ng data traffic dun sa international mobile subscribers identity na nandun sa ating SIM card. So lahat ng mobile gadget na naka-on or actively in operation within the range of 3-kilometer radius, habang naka-on yung kanyang machine, ay makukuha niya yung information or messaging. Kaya ito yung capability ng kanyang equipment.
Ano po yung makukuha exactly, Attorney Lavin, no? Kunwari,
Na-check nyo na ba yung mga...
Before, yung mga nahuli dati na may IMSI catcher din. Kasi kung baka naman spammer lang sila, baka, di ba, ang dami rin ganon, or scammer, or spammer?
Well, the different data na nakukuha, ito ay sinasubject namin sa data analytics, no?
Okay.
Kasi yung ibang data, we check. Halimbawa, may bangko ako, the bank would communicate with us, no? Ito yung balance mo, ito yung transaction mo. And there is an override that also suddenly in the same account na or number na nagtitext yung bank, sinasabi doon na meron kang balance or points to expire, and for you to avail of that, you have to click a link. Once you click that link, higop na lahat yung data mo.
So kumbaga inaagaw niya yung...
Include into your... So ito yung depende sa nakukuha nilang data, they would categorize the data. Some of these are used for scamming purposes. Some maybe of mas valuable sa kanila, especially the data ang tinitignan namin dito na nakuha nila galing sa inaanan nilang government infrastructure or services, government offices or agencies.
Pero sir, ano yung mga indicators that would suggest that this is a targeted surveillance, so instead of just a random case of cybercrime? Kasi hindi po ba medyo weird na itong suspect, on display yung kanyang mga equipment dun sa kotse, wala man lang attempt to, to be incognito, to hide it properly, kung espiya po talaga siya?
No, yung espionage dito aspect, when they obtain data affecting our national interest, at dinadaanan nila dito yung Villamor Air Base, dinaanan nila dito yung US Embassy, in the past dinaanan nila yung ating naval stations, dinaanan nila yung ating seaport, other government agencies like in this particular case, Supreme Court, Department of Justice, and COMELEC, BIR. So dito kami worried. The other data na makakalap nila at that traffic or at that nakuha nila sa data traffic within the range. Baka gagamitin nila ito or ginagamit nila sa scamming or other purposes. But when they sift through the data, maaring gamitin nila itong ibang data na nakuha sa government agencies for other purposes.
So, Attorney, I guess, just to simplify it all, no, it's also possible na hindi talaga siya spy. It's also possible na, yun nga, cybercriminal siya, fraudster, scammer.
It's very possible. It's very possible na they're just obtaining or illegally accessing data and hindi pa namin clearly ma-establish whether they are selling this data o kung sino yung end user nila kasi nilalabas nila ito. Ang klaro sa amin dito, pinapunta siya dito to take over the operations of a machine.
Alright,
and
but
hanggang supposedly hanggang May 14 lang siya dito, something like that.
Pero attorney, di ba sabi nyo, you've subjected the previous machines that were confiscated to data analysis. Anong nakita doon po?
Hindi nakita doon yung nakunan yung ating vital information tungkol doon sa ating water assets, yung ating naval assets. May nakita doon na map, may technical terms silang ginagamit, yung parang terrain. We're still doing some data analysis kasi ang ginagawa namin yung preliminary lang for purposes lang na madala namin sa hospital. But the voluminous content is being subjected to cyber forensic examination.
All right, we thank you for your time, NBI spokesperson Ferdinand Lavin, and hopefully Director Jimmy Santiago will be well enough to join us another time. Marami pong salamat.
Meanwhile, airport personnel are no longer allowed to touch passengers' passports. And that's the latest directive from the Ninoy Aquino International Airport, or NAIA. In a Facebook post, NAIA said that all security personnel have been instructed not to touch passengers' passports during terminal entry or security checks. Instead, travelers will be asked to hold up their valid ID or travel documents for verification. The policy follows a recent incident at NAIA Terminal 3 where a passenger's passport was reportedly torn at a check-in counter. While airport authorities clarified that there was no mishandling by security staff, the case prompted a stricter policy to better protect travel documents. The Department of Transportation has also urged airlines to ensure that no passport tampering occurs, especially after several cases of so-called punit passports or torn passports were reported. NAIA's management is now working closely with the Transportation Department and the Bureau of Immigration to tighten procedures and to prevent similar incidents in the future.
And for our big picture tonight, we give you a look at day one of free train rides for our hardworking Filipino workers. In a special initiative, President Bongbong Marcos announced free rides on the MRT-3, the LRT-1 and LRT-2, available from today, April 30, through Saturday, May 3rd. This is in celebration of Labor Day, which is tomorrow. The government described the initiative as a token of gratitude for the dedication and sacrifices of Filipino workers, acknowledging their role in driving economic growth and social development. So, to all our workers, hop on board and enjoy your free rides.
Now, that's good news. They can save up to 28 pesos if they're going through the whole route, if MRT.
Yeah. Pero ano yun? One way.
One way.
So times 2 per day, 56. Times 4 days.
Pwede ka rin mag-joyride.
Yeah,
Gusto mo
trip lang.
Wala lang. Why not, diba?
Actually, exciting to Kasi pag kahit wala kang beep card, pwede ka sumakay.
Tama.
Kasi ang hirap bumili.
Oo, hirap pumila para bumili.
Super hirap.
Magandang idea yung mag-joyride lang sa MRT. Sa bagay, walang tao bukas eh. So it's the perfect time to,
Can I tell you that, well,
You did
Sige
that?
na.
Long
I
ago,
did it
yes. I
also.
did that early morning.
Okay.
Not the EDSA one, the one
LRT.
on Taft. Yeah, the
LRT one.
And it's quite nice.
Actually, maganda yung bago ng LRT one, in my personal opinion, compared to sa MRT3.
Yes, yes. It's more, ano, mas
I don't
bago
know.
na
At saka malamig yung
At saka
aircon.
magandang Maynila na ngayon, di ba?
Totoo. Actually, ginagawa ko siya lalo na nung bagong bukas yung MRT. Tapos pahatid ka lang kunwari sa mall. Tapos from there, nandun ka na pala sa kabilang mall na yun yung mga takas namin dati.
Okay, ako parang sunrise date. Something like that.
Wow.
Napaka-exciting naman. Okay.
Time ago.
Di na natin ipapa-reveal kung sino yung kadate. So that's it for the big story on this Wednesday evening.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thank you for watching. Have a good night.